Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bo, and this week's video is basically gonna be another what I eat in a week. However, this week we will be taking a deep dive into the topic of comparison, validation, the notion of that constant chase of being someone else. I'm aware that this video could get a bit controversial because everyone is on their own journeys, whether that is their journey to survival, of having their fundamental needs met, their journey of healing from chronic mental or physical stress. I am super blessed to say that I'm grateful to be in the position I am in. I have a supportive environment, amazing friends, family. I have access to technology, food, water, full ableness, and the ability to seek a higher education. Now, this is kind of like the brief profile of the trajectory of my life. So speaking upon these topics reflects this type of trajectory of living. With that being said, let's talk about comparison. Comparing yourself to others. I'm sure you know that feeling once you compare, that jealousy starts brewing. Once that jealousy starts brewing, you start to feel like shit. And once that shitty feeling immerses, one may decide to instantaneously gratify themselves through social media. Then you come across a couple funny TikToks that made you laugh. But then you come across a baddie with a 20-inch waist, and then you click on their profile and come to find out that they're 17. And then you kind of ask yourself what you're doing with your own life, feeling like shit again. And that cycle repeats back to square one. Sounds familiar enough? The truth of the matter is, comparing yourself to others is so easy because you're ultimately comparing yourself to the highlights of someone else's life. And this question leads to why you keep doing it. Like, I'm fully aware I'm comparing myself to the highlights of someone else's life, but I seem to keep doing it. I'm gonna tell you, it's supernatural. Just accept it. It comes with being a human. Humans are prone to compare themselves as their first instinct because 1, we are a visual species. 2, we're impatient and we tend to gravitate towards desires. In other words, we always strive for wanting what we don't have, and we kind of neglect what we do. At the end of the day, humans are never satisfied. Okay, so I have exactly 5 minutes to make this matcha. I'm excited to make my matcha today, especially because my mom gave me this, or she didn't give it to me, I just borrowed it. She's in Europe right now, so she doesn't technically need it. It's like this chai mixture, and apparently it goes really well with matcha, just a bit of this. So yeah, I'm very excited to make my matcha today, to put this shit in there. So where's the problem here? The problem with comparing is that it's a setback. It gives you a satisfying excuse not to start. Comparing is easy. It's easy to dismiss and neglect or pivot towards your own mental and physical improvements by comparing, because it's easy enough to make excuses saying that something is unfair because they started there, friends with them, looks like them, born into that. The truth is, yes, all your reasons are valid. The world is unfair. Some were born into greater advantages than others, but it's important to recognize that everyone is on their own journey. Someone did something to get there. Someone faced their own versions of struggles to get that. The truth of the matter is, we are all struggling, and humans are naturally programmed to want what we don't have. There's, some pros and cons to this notion, because the hunger of wanting better or craving for more may convert into motivation, so you can kind of like use that and perpetuate action towards your goals and stuff. But other times, this converts into indulging into your ego traits, such as jealousy. Since we're a visual species and live in the era that we do of social media, it's easy to consume and worry about the paths of others, to the point where sometimes we're completely failing to worry about ourselves. So basically, comparing gets you nowhere, and it's basically a waste of time. The more you're giving energy being envious, the more energy and headspace of yours you're wasting, because that time you spent on worrying about others could have been put into yourself, your own paths, your own hopes and dreams. At the end of the day, the most valuable thing one possesses is time. This is something we'll ultimately run out of. You can always recharge your phone, but you can't ever take back the time you've wasted. So take control of that time and that headspace and put it into yourself. So before we move on, let's summarize what we've learned. Why shouldn't we compare? 1, you only have one life to live, and the most valuable thing we possess is time. So why spend another living moment of existence comparing? 2, everyone is on their own path, different timelines. At the end of the day, no one is ever happy with themselves. The people you're comparing yourself to are comparing themselves to others, more, better, or maybe even you. Exerting headspace onto someone else's life and someone else's stage of life is only hurting yourself at the end of the day, because that time could have been invested on you. That pivotal moment for me when I realized all of this was when your homie was in the trenches, okay? Once upon a time, I once did love comparing myself to others. Okay, love's a strong word, maybe more like I lacked a shit ton of self-awareness. I would constantly allow my mind to mindlessly think and overindulge in aimless thoughts. I found myself comparing myself pretty much to everything and everyone around me. My friends, my peers, celebrities. What a self-deprecating era. So I have this one friend, she's one of my best friends. She's mad extroverted, loves socializing, one who seems to be making friends left and right, constantly seeking ways to put herself out there, networking, seems to have everything going for her on paper. Involved with school, VP of this, president of this, director of this, literally the definition of the ultimate girl boss. One time, I remember we were skating and we got pretty deep and vulnerable with each other. We started expressing our gratitude towards each other. I would often praise her hustle, her extroversion, and her ability to socialize and make people feel welcomed. I've expressed how I look up to that aspect of her life, and she would often praise my way of life, living, self-care, reading, nourishing, my healthy lifestyle. Not gonna lie, it just took that one conversation for me to really change my perspective about comparison. There's always someone out there comparing themselves to you regardless of how flawed you may think you are. The reasons why you don't think you're worth someone else's comparison is because you're your own inner worst critic, and you know yourself at its truest form, the worst parts of yourself and the best parts. So right now we're seated at a dinner place. It's called Season 6, and yeah, we're gonna have dinner here. I'm with Jeannie. Oh no. With all this information overload, your perception of yourself may be blurred, just like any sort of data. Take a company, for example. Many companies store their raw data in some form of cloud system. However, the raw data collected is pretty much jargon to an average person. Oftentimes, what companies make the mistake of doing is trying to interpret too much of its data. The information overload ultimately harms the company because most of its data they wasted resources on and took the time to interpret turns out to be irrelevant at the end. The most strategic way to manage data is to be selective with it. With that being said, knowing yourself is a true gift. However, this is also why humans tend to be overcritical of oneself. We know too much about ourselves. The information overload prompts us to become overcritical of oneself. We kind of just look into it too much, look into our own shit too much, you feel me? And once this happens, we start to become our own worst enemies. Thus, comparing yourself to someone else is easy. It's easy to look at any celebrity and think you understand it all because you don't have all the data. This is why you hear the saying that celebrities live the most depressing lives. I bet you if you knew the ins and outs of someone else's life just as much as your own, they won't be so quote-unquote goals to you anymore. So, how do we stop comparing ourselves? I'm gonna tell you now, comparing yourself to others just comes with being a human. Because us humans are biologically driven through desires, and our desires are prompted through visual perception. As long as we have our eyes and our brains, desires won't ever stop. So it all comes down to the mindset switch and making peace within your own mind. And here are 3 tips I have for you. 1. Understand that everyone is on their own journeys, that comparing is stupid because we all live different lives. The people you compare yourself to are comparing themselves to others as well. 2. Differentiate between comparison and an aim. It's good to have idols because they show you where you can go, where you may be. I suggest studying them. Study their process rather than the end goal. Shift your mindset towards appreciation and being grateful that this person exists so that now you have an opportunity to learn from them. 3. Look at your direct environment. inspo from the people around you. Oftentimes, friends and people in your direct proximity is often overlooked because we know more about them. However, using their highlights, the best thing about them, to help you enrich your own life is very effective to self-improve because you have direct connection with them and they're ultimately a direct example for you. So, for example, bouncing off of my girl I mentioned before, her name is Sabrina. She's extroverted, outgoing, makes people feel welcome, gets very involved with school. I made it a goal for me to put myself out there more, get more involved, trying out for school clubs, volunteering for things. For a natural introvert, these things are quite difficult, but from observing and surrounding myself with an example like Sabrina, these best parts of her are so very much contagious. It makes me want to shadow this aspect of her life. Alright, so this is the dinner fit. I'm just wearing this cropped top thing, and I'm wearing this little mini skirt. So my challenge for you is to make a list. Make a list of your friends in your journal and a document and start writing about their best qualities, what you love about them, and how you can start implementing their best traits into your own life. Anyways, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you want to see more content of mine, I'm on Instagram and I recently started a TikTok. And yeah, anyways, take care. Have a nice, wonderful day. Bye.